This was an embarrassing display of football, might be the understatement of the year. The Philadelphia Eagles came out today in a game where they at least had to look respectable for a couple of reasons: to gain back some confidence, or even to possibly win the game, to just keep extending their chances to get a higher seed in the playoffs, which are coming up next week. Instead, they landed with a thud. This is the Lehocky Eagles postgame show. I'm Mike Missinelli. We have Seth Joyner. We have Mark Forzetta with us. Guys, this is not just a game. This is an examination now of a team that is completely disintegrated, that now has to go into the playoffs and possibly lose to a team that we never possibly thought they could lose to, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that's the way it's going to be. They're going to go in as the 5th seed after what happened today. Now, the chances they were going to get a better seed were slim. But here's the big thing about today, boys. The coaching staff was unable to get this team to a level where they even competed. They didn't compete, and they had a lot at stake to compete. And I don't know if this is a totally broken situation or not. I don't know whether the coach's job is in jeopardy. I don't know if they have a chance in hell to win a playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. So what say you guys? Seth?
They have no chance. No chance whatsoever. And I'm never one to advocate for anybody losing their job. But I think, Nick, I think Howie and Jeffrey got to sit down and take a hard look at this thing. Because this football team flat out laid down today. They flat out just had no, they had no desire to play. And when you see that, that's a result of, the players not hearing the head coach's voice any longer. All the stuff that we heard, and all the stuff going into this, and all of the, AJ finally spoke, and, that entire speech probably could have saved the season. Man, BS. Okay. This team has been flawed. This team has been a fraud all season long. And today was just the icing on the cake. Now it didn't mean anything for you to win this game, because it's pretty darn apparent that the Cowboys wasn't going to lose to, the Commanders. You blew any chance at the division and the number 2 seed, over the previous 2 weeks. But to just go up to the Giants and allow, that team to do what they did to this defense and to this offense, in a game like this, they have no chance in hell of going to Tampa Bay and beating Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay is not a great team, but they're good enough because the Eagles can't stop the run. And they're good enough because they've got some weapons with wide receiver. They're good enough because Todd Bowles is going to bring pressure the same way the last 3 defensive coordinators have, and the Eagles have no answer for it. They're stuck on stupid, to be honest with you, because they keep doing the same damn thing over and over, expecting that they're going to figure it out. No slight adjustments, no hot routes against blitzes. So teams, if they don't have success running the ball on first down, they come after him on second down to get Jalen on the move and have him to scramble to his left and throw the ball away. So, maybe San Francisco was right. We got the game plan. Here's the game plan. San Francisco didn't necessarily, blitz them to death because they had enough pass rush to actually get to Jalen and move him off his spot. But they certainly have enough other teams, certainly these other teams with these grade A top flight defensive coordinators that know how to dial up blitzes and how to get a guy free. That's the recipe for beating them. And if they don't make a change, it's just going to be more of it. So I'm not in the least little bit hopeful. I'm packing up my place here because after next Sunday, now I do my TV show on Tuesday to wrap the season. I'm getting the hell out of here because they're done. There's no way in hell they're winning the game next week. No way.
Marcy, let me bring you in here because listen, when you introduce the concept of Okay, we really don't have a chance to get a higher seed. So what are we playing for anyway? That's one thing. But when you've lost 4 of 5 games, it is so important for you guys to get some kind of a semblance of continuity in your offense and defense. And that's the thing that was most disturbing about this. They were unwilling to compete. They almost, like, if I didn't know better, these guys have already quit on a season that's still going on.
Yeah. In a game where they still, and not that the Commanders obviously made it close for an entire game, but they kept it close there for a minute. The Eagles' play today was play from a team that was begging for a head coaching regime change. And I believe that the problem is far beyond that. I don't think this is just a problem with Nick Sirianni or Brian Johnson or Matt Patricia or Sean Desai. This is an organizational problem where I feel like everyone is a cook in the kitchen, and there are far too many of those right now for the Philadelphia Eagles. And you look at teams that have quit on their head coach. This just looked like an entire team quitting on this entire coaching staff and really the entire organization. The report before the game was that Nick Sirianni's message to this Eagles team was, go out there and win this game. This is a game we want to win. There's still a chance we have a shot at the division here. We don't know what can happen in Landover, Maryland, but we can only take care of what we need to take care of. Even if we don't win this game, we need to show that we're on the same page going into the postseason with some semblance of hope that we could get it all together. And that's how you came out? A.J. Brown does the talk of the season supposedly at his locker, and that's how you came out? This was astonishingly embarrassing. And, as people are noticing, we're not down at Ocean right now. We're at our home studio, so we had to come back during the game. But I'm listening to Merrill and Mike do it, and it's been a minute since I've heard them. They were crushing this team. Merrill Reese was talking about how this team is being, the Eagles are being murdered. That's what they were talking about on the radio. That you wouldn't know who the 5-11 team is and who the 11-5 team is in this game. Utterly embarrassing. And this was supposed to be the game, yet again, fellas, that was a get-right game for the Eagles, a not-so-great opponent that the Eagles could either pad stats or gain a little bit of fluidity, treat it almost like it was a preseason game in the early goings, and then if the Cowboys were blowing out the Commanders, then you rest guys. These were guys also begging to be out of the game. And, Mike, you were watching it with us there in that first quarter especially. Guys left and right were saying this is it. You know what? I don't need to play the rest of this game. I'll cut my losses at this point and just hope that we get into the postseason and find some kind of fire. But I don't even know if this team, with the way they look tonight, I don't even know if this team wants anything to do with a playoff victory. It looks like they just want this season to be over with. If you remember years ago with the Phillies, Cole Hamels was quoted in the World Series, I can't wait for this to be over. This Eagles team looks like they can't wait for it to be over. And the exit door is now in its shining red flashing light.
Really, when you think about it, and you're like, I think you're right on. The season is not over. I mean, they have probably the weakest opponent in the playoffs to play.
That's what the Bucs are saying right now.
You just don't have any faith in what they can do. So let's look at it this way. Seth, it would take like a tremendous reversal now to all of a sudden flip a switch after you've lost 5 or 6, playing like this, looking like you're lost, looking like you don't hear the message of the head coach, looking like you don't even have any veteran leaders that can pull this team out of here. They were without Smith today. AJ tucked out early. They were without DeAndre Swift. Is it possible that they could reverse the feelings and find new life as they play an opponent that's eminently beatable?
No. Just no.
Absolutely not. There's no hope, you're saying.
I believe that the San Francisco 49ers broke this football team. When they told them that we're going to come in there, we're going to kick your ass, we're going to surround James Bradbury like a pack of hyenas around a dying lion, okay? And we're going to bite him on his hip, and we're going to bite him on his arm, and we're going to torture him before the game. We're going to roll into your backyard wearing all black, and we're going to kick your ass up and down the football field, and there ain't nothing you could do about it. And they walked in here and did it. I think after that game, the Eagles were done, okay? The coach had no remedy, nothing to say to them to rescue their psyche. And as time went on, the offense continued to struggle. And then I heard Nick Sirianni say last week, this is our process. We're just going to keep working the process to get better. But your process isn't working. Your offense isn't working. I felt like the Philadelphia Eagles offensively would be a juggernaut on offense this year with what they had last year and expanding the playbook and Jalen becoming a pocket passer and their ability to run the football, that they would be an offense that's untouchable. It's pretty evident to me. And Nick Sirianni says this now. Nick Sirianni says, this is my offense, okay? I want to see. I wish they made playbooks the way they did back in my day. Our playbook was about that thick, okay? I would love to see Nick's playbook, not in a laptop or Microsoft Surface Pro, but in a binder. I want to see how much offense do you have? Because this reminds me of Chip Kelly's offense when he would stand on the sideline with an 8x10 piece of paper folded up like this, calling plays. There ain't too much you got on this damn piece of paper that you can call, okay, that after a while I can't figure out as a defensive coach. So when I'm watching this offense, I'm looking at it, and it's the same crap, play after play after play. They have every pass that Dallas Goedert catches is a 4-yard out, and he gets tackled with no room to run, okay? Damn near every pass that A.J. Brown catches is a damn slant route, okay? They have there's no rhyme or reason to what they do. Their run plays don't coordinate with their pass plays. Their pass plays don't coordinate with the run plays. And teams understand that if I can get the Eagles behind the sticks on first down, if I can get them to 2nd and 8 or more, okay, then I can blitz them because they have to throw the ball on 2nd down to just get to 3rd and manageable. If that's the case, we can get sacks, we can get throwaways, we can get hurries, we can get whatever we want. Again tonight, the first series of the game, okay, they run the ball, they throw the ball, I think it was 5 plays, 15 yards or something like that, and then they punt it. So they did get a first down. But I can remember on a 2nd and long, the second set of downs, Jalen drops back to throw the ball. Dallas Goedert's lined up in the slot. The guy that's over Goedert comes on a blitz. And instead of just raising up and throwing the ball to Dallas running up the field, he runs out of the pocket and tries to hit somebody on the sideline. I'm like, at what point in time, do you see the adjustment and make the adjustment? If you're going to blitz off of one of my best receivers and the safety's coming from 12 yards deep to cover him man-to-man, all he's got to do is just take 2 steps and stop. And now you got the safety coming downhill where he's got a 2-way go. What in the hell? I mean, you don't have to be a damn genius to figure that out. But they keep doing the same damn thing, expecting a different result. And here we are.
Let me. I happen to agree with most of what you're saying. And what you're saying is the Eagles are not going to win that playoff game. So the next thing I need to address with you guys is
they might.
Yeah,
I get paid on Tuesday. I'm putting my whole damn paycheck. I don't even care what the line is. I'm putting my whole damn paycheck. Let me get to the next
point on that, because if they do lose, you believe the coach will be moved out of here.
If they go down to Tampa Bay and they play like they played today, I believe that Nick Sirianni, I believe that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman have to give major thought to what they do with Nick Sirianni moving forward, because it's pretty obvious. Even if you decide to bring him back, you have to have major coordinator and coaching changes. Like, you got to wipe the entire slate of coaches on the defensive side of the ball. They all got to go, because there's no way in hell that you can play the way that they played over the last 7 weeks and think that those coaches are going to come back and do anything different. Because if they haven't been able to fix these players up until this point in time, what in the hell makes you think they're going to be able to do it next year? And then offensively, when you look at what they are offensively, if this is Nick's offense, you can't come back and throw this out there again next year. You got to go find an offensive coordinator that's going to come in with his offense and run things his way. And Nick is nothing more than a manager of situations, okay? So that if that's the case, then you got to really give deep consideration, deep thought, is Nick Sirianni the guy for this job?
Fortunately, are you in agreement with that? Because I don't think they're going to lose next week. I know this team's broken, and I don't have any faith in them. And it wouldn't shock me if Tampa Bay routs them. But I still think they're better than Tampa Bay, and so that'll survive his job.
You got the faith in
but do you think
all the faith
the same thing? If they lose that game, do you believe that would happen?
Yeah, you have a situation right now where, regardless of the overall takeaway of what people want out of the feel-good press conference of the season of A.J. Brown talking about how he respects the coaches and he loves Nick Sirianni's loyalty and that he takes it on the chin for this team and how it's not on the coaches, it's on the players. Despite all that feel-good stuff, people ignored the most important 15-second soundbite of that, which was when A.J. Brown acknowledged that the locker room was fractured. When he answered the question about, oh, this is how you feel, is this how everyone else in the locker room feels? I can't speak for everyone. That told me more than anything out of the rest of that 13-minute press session that he had in his locker. Then after that, you have Hassan Reddick on Thursday laughing at situations that his new defensive play caller is putting him in when they had to drop back in coverage 7 different times, the most time he ever has an Eagle. You have veteran players, Pro Bowl players, questioning what's going on with the coaching staff of this team. The thing is, it's not all Nick Sirianni's fault. Like I said, this is an organizational problem. Nick Sirianni will be the next scapegoat on the list after Sean Desai. And I agree with what Seth's saying. Absolutely. If you're going to make a change, you got to make a huge change, not just coordinators, but an overhaul, because I have never seen an organization, not a coach, an organization lose a locker room the way they lost this locker room and the way everything fell apart in a huge domino effect after they got rid of a guy who wasn't even doing a good job in Sean Desai. They made the change at 10-3 to Matt Patricia, and that set up a huge panic in the entire locker room and the entire organization.
Yeah,
what are you supposed to think if you're a player?
Definitely, I agree with.
What the hell?
Whether it was the Sirianni call, whether it was the Lurie call, there is no way that you could expect to do something like that and not have the locker room say, uh-oh, I guess we're in trouble. Because that's the concept they introduced with that. And then on the heels of that, the Cowboys rout them, and then they make the change. And then here comes the A.J. Brown thing. And it's unbelievable how this team that we're at one level this year have completely fallen off the cliff. It's hard to believe. It's like somebody wrote a script about this.
Mike, I learned more about this team from Hassan Reddick than I did AJ Reddick this past week. Because when Hassan Reddick is literally chuckling at the amount of times he's being used in pass coverage instead of pass rushing, when he's talking, literally called out the quote-unquote higher-ups, who thought it was a better decision to make the change from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia. He didn't say the coaching staff. He didn't say Nick Sirianni. He said the higher-ups. That tells me that you're talking about Jeffrey Lurie and you're talking about Howie Roseman. So what power does Nick Sirianni really have? And if Nick Sirianni continues to take it on the chin for his players, which is nothing abnormal, almost every coach in the NFL does that, well, then how am I supposed to believe him when he says, like you pointed out, Mike, it's my offense? What am I supposed to believe when he also tells me it was his decision to make the change for who the defensive player caller was going to be? To steal a line from Office Space, what is it you say you do here, Nick Sirianni? Because the Eagles seem to think they can plug in anybody they want because their system is so great with their analytics, with their acquisitions, with their trades, with their drafting somehow. They feel like they can do anything with any coach. It doesn't have to be Doug Peterson. It doesn't have to be Nick Sirianni. It's their system. They know what they're doing. Anybody else can plug and play. And that is the biggest disgrace to the game of football and attitude you could have, to meddle like that and not let the people that you're hiring to actually prepare the meal, to cook, to be the head coach. You mean to tell me that you know more than them all of a sudden? That is an absolute joke. In this team, it's no wonder they had this fall apart at the end of the year the way they did.
It was funny. What was their answer to Reddick? For the first 2 plays, they had him in coverage.
They did. God.
The first 2 plays of the game, they have him in coverage. That was their answer to what his views were.
Laugh at this, fella.
let me tell you. Let me tell you something. When organizationally, your team has gone to the Super Bowl twice in the last 6 years after, a
Chip Kelly, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after not winning the Super Bowl in the modern era, 57 years, and then you go to the Super Bowl 2 years in a 6-year span, they believe that everything that they're doing is the right way and the right methodology of doing it. And I would submit to you and anyone else, who's listening to what I'm saying, is that everything that they're doing, they've got to have a shift in how they do it. Okay. Offensively, there's nothing wrong with RPOs, but you better figure out, with all these weapons that you have, a better way to call plays and have Jalen Hurts be a much better pocket passer than he is. Okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is defensively. This has been your mode of action, since, God rest his soul, Jim Johnson passed away. This bend but don't break, Vic Fangio type, defense. Don't go bring me another, Vic Fangio disciple. It's pretty damn obvious, and you look, the Vic Fangio got his ass handed to him last week, okay? That method of playing football doesn't work any longer because the smart teams are just going to take what you give them. They're not going to try to push the ball downfield. There's no need to do that. If you're going to play your cornerbacks 10 yards off the ball, why would I ever have to, push the ball down the field? You're giving me 7-8 yards every time I drop back and I want to throw the football. So that whole system and that whole mode of operation has to change. And you got to move away from this thought that, oh my gosh, we want to create explosive plays, but at the same time, we want to limit them. So we're going to play this bend but don't break style defense until we get, in between, until we get to the 20-yard line. And then we're going to go man, which everybody knows that we're in, and they've got their best man beaters to beat us all day long. You talk about a dumbass philosophy. Come on. If you're not forcing the issue, then you have the issue forced upon you. If you're not making, you want to know why the Eagles don't create turnovers? The Eagles don't create turnovers because turnovers are forced. When you hear someone on the broadcast, or you hear, a media person or even a coach or a player talk about turnovers, what's the word that always precedes turnovers? Oh, we force turnovers. Oh, they force turnovers, okay? We don't force a damn thing because we play too passive. So how do you expect to actually get to a point where your defense can make plays? They're so hell-bent on trying to figure out ways to stop the big play that they're afraid to make a play. And that philosophy and that way of thinking needs to exit this damn organization once and for all, because Philadelphia wasn't like that until Jim Johnson, like I said, closed his eyes and we went in a different direction with a different mindset. And it has not worked. Yeah, it's got us to 2 Super Bowls, but it lost us one. And if we didn't score every damn possession that we had the ball in the other one, we wouldn't have won that.
The Giants rolled up 415 yards of offense today against the Eagles. They almost had 300 in the first half. And it was the springboard of it was when the Eagles decided to go for it on 4th and 3 near midfield, but in their own territory. They don't get it. And then the Giants go bang, bang, bang. This Giants team, they had Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback. The wide receivers are, they're probably non-existent at this point. They got Saquon Barkley, they got Darren Waller, but this team shouldn't go down the field on you like they did. The defense is broken, and here's what they're doing, Seth. They're targeting Bradbury every game now.
I don't even know. Listen, Mike, I don't even know why they put him out there anymore. You got all these young guys, okay, instill in them some confidence and let them play. You know that he's the weak link and they're going to go after him. So either give him help. If you're going to put him on the tight end in the slot, you know that they're going to target him. Wherever he is, he's the target. He's like the limping hyena in the pack. Okay, they're looking at him like, oh yeah, there's the meal right there. okay? And they're going to come after him. So you would think that as a coaching staff, what you would do is you would try to figure out, either how to help him or make the decision to take him off the field because he's a liability. Statistically, he is your worst cornerback. And you got about 3, 4, 5 young cornerbacks on the entire damn roster. He's one of your highest paid defensive players, and he's hurting you more than he's helping you. You have to take him off the field. But guess what? Because they're playing him so much, because he was a Pro Bowler last year, they're going to leave him out there. If you're going to get toasted, watch. Can you imagine him on Mike Evans next week? Are you kidding me? Come on, man. Come on.
Well, Slay will be back next week. I don't know how effective he would be coming off of surgery.
Come on, man.
But I see, that's the thing. I'm looking at this like the season's lost. I get it. There's no way, even if they won game 1, they could possibly go to San Francisco and win that game. So, our expectations are already dashed. But I'm thinking that there's still got to be enough left to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with all their guys back. And maybe this is such a bad loss for them that they go, all right, let's just go play. I don't know. I don't know what to think.
I'm giving you odds, Mike. You just, see, this is what happens with Philadelphia fans. And I get it because I'm a fan. And I bought into it until I saw the light, okay? Till I saw the light. I knew, my eyes was closed and I could just barely open them and I could see a little bit of the light. But you know what? When you're 10-1, you want to be like, like every other fan. But I knew better. My football sense told me back in the first 5 games of the season that there was something wrong with this football team, okay? The San Francisco game was a straw that broke the camel's back. And the thing is, what the great football coaches, great head coaches find a way to rescue the psyche of their team when they get broken like this or they have a game like this. It seems to me like the players have been trying to do it on their own. And because they're not getting that from the coaching staff, particularly the head coach, now they're in a position where, they don't even hear the head coach's voice anymore. He's talking, but they ain't listening. It's like, I used to tell when I used to address my young kids when I used to coach, I used to tell them all the time. I said, there's a difference between listening and hearing, okay? So while you're down on one knee and you're drawing, little things in the dirt, you hear me. Wah, 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 wah. You hear me, but you listen to me with your eyes. Give me your eyes. That way I know you're hearing what I'm saying. This Eagles football team is down on one knee and they're drawing, little designs in the dirt when Nick Sirianni is talking. They don't even hear him anymore, man. They don't hear him.
That's a sad detail. It really is. If Nick Sirianni is that to this team right now, you're right. All hope is lost. And certainly they would have to.
What is he going to tell them, Mike? What is he going to tell them?
He can't tell. You're right. He's lost them. This is now,
Mike. But this is the game. This is the game. They always want to take you in the locker room when you win and show the coach dancing. And you know what I'm saying? I want to be in the damn locker room tonight. I want to hear what Nick Sirianni had to say to these players tonight. Oh, I guarantee you they were like, oh, keep the camera. I want to hear what the hell he had to say tonight. And then I want you to pan the locker room so I can look at the players and see their eyes and see how many are like, you know what, man, I'll run through a wall for that guy. Or I want to see the ones that's like, man, that's a whole bunch of bullshit he's selling over there.
Parsley, he's not wrong. I mean, there's no way. What is Nick Sirianni right now? I mean, normally we can tell that the fiber of a coach, and I know he won some people over after he came in here with that Rocky Harry High School stuff. He kind of won some people over, but what is he now to this organization?
To the organization, he's the yes man that they want, that will allow, the front office to do whatever the hell they damn well please and just kind of be the guy to push buttons there on the sidelines. But I do wonder, it's an interesting point here, because we talked about Sean Desai and him being pushed aside, essentially being neutered as the defensive coordinator, still having the title, but no power. is Nick Sirianni just a pushover now? Like, if you're a player, and I go back to Hassan Reddick again. If you're a player and you see the higher-ups making calls like changing who's calling plays defensively and not the head coach, then who is Nick Sirianni? I mean, any line of work you're in, the direct boss all of a sudden has no power and everything's coming from the higher-up. How are you supposed to pay attention to that as an employee? If you're Hassan Reddick, if you're A.J. Brown, if you're Jalen Hurts, are you to look at your head coach as a guy that actually still has power within the organization, or a guy that's going to be constantly pushed around and overruled? Because that's what it looks like right now. And if you're losing a locker room, which is exactly what it looked like in the first half of this game, I argued for Nick Sirianni's case leading up to today, but this effort is, like I said, it's the effort of a team that wants their head coach fired. So for me, I think it's this coach right now being pushed aside by the front office and being exposed for more or less just being a yes man to the organization. And the Eagles, they want that kind of guy. They wanted a guy like Doug Peterson, who didn't have experience as a head coach, was barely an offensive coordinator in Kansas City. And now they got a guy who was just completely fresh meat to the head coaching position in Nick Sirianni, who throughout his career was an offensive coach working under an offensive head coach. So for him, even as an offensive coordinator, you're working with a guy like Frank Reich, who's calling the plays. They got what they wanted in Nick Sirianni, and after this, they'll look for the next guy that will tell them yes and allow them to do whatever it is that they want to do in order to the team. But if you're a player, how do you look at the head coach and say, oh, that's the guy in charge? That's the guy, in your words, Mike, I'll run through that brick wall for. That doesn't make any sense to how you run a team, especially this one in particular. And it's a shame with the leadership on this team that it might come to something like that, or at least it did to end this season. But for me, it's just an awful way to go from a 10-1 team to a team that's lost, what now, 6-7 to end the season, 5-6 to end the season?
5-6.
Unbelievable.
Farzi, you make such a good point, and I thought about it, but I didn't think about it in the terms that you so eloquently put it until you said what you said, okay? If the players are to look at the head coach as the authority figure, and then all of a sudden come to the realization that he's not really the authority figure, what's the level of respect for that coach? It's like raising a young kid. If that kid doesn't understand who the authority figure is, they will try to run all over you. Once they figure out that you have no authority, they will try to run all over you. You understand what I'm saying? So now here's the situation. You got Nick Sirianni supposed to be the head coach. Well, he's hired as the head coach, I should say. Let me not say it like that. He's hired as the head coach. As he begins to build this team and how he begins to bring these pieces in, it's looked upon and viewed as though Nick is the guy that's making all the decisions. He's hired the coordinators. It's his offense. It's his philosophy on defense. It's his offensive philosophy, okay? And then all of a sudden in week 14, the people upstairs make a decision that we're changing coordinators. And then all of a sudden, for the first time this year, the players realize and understand, man, Nick ain't got no say-so here. He's not the authority figure, And maybe these players knew it all along. That's the only thing that I can think of that gives Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown the thought that they could, ad-lib plays wherever they wanted to, like it came to light last year. You think Jalen Hurts is doing that at Alabama? Hell no. You think he's doing that under his dad? Hell no. He ain't even doing it under Lincoln Riley. But he was in a situation where now he realizes, well, he's the franchise quarterback. Don't nobody in the organization make more money than him, than the owner, okay? So there's a certain amount of power that comes with that. I'm not saying that Jalen's wired that way, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility that one's mind could think along that line, because he knows that now that he's getting $255 million, there ain't no way in hell they're getting rid of him. Nick Sirianni gonna be gone before he's gone. Players understand that and get that, But you can't have a lamed up coach from the standpoint of them not having the authority, in the eyes of the players, because it's the coaches with the players all the time. It ain't Howie and Jeffrey down there with those guys every single day. It's Nick and his staff. And when the players start to see things beginning to happen and decisions that are made, and they come to the realization and the understanding that those decisions aren't made by the guy that they thought was in control, that's a problem.
All right, let's take a break. Bill Colarulo is going to join us. We have plenty to hash out in this show as the Eagles lose their final regular season game today and get smoked. And now the playoffs are starting. It's hard to believe. But if you're looking to hire right now, however, in the IT, engineering, manufacturing, or technology fields, just got to contact our buddy Gary Kane and his team at Kane Partners Staffing Solution. Here's how you can connect.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.